Okay, today we're predicting the Tennessee Titans record. So looking at their roster, they just got DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure quarterback, Tannehill, Will Levis, when will the rookie or Malik Willis start? Obviously their offense to me is still Derrick Henry oriented, especially with their offensive line, which I don't think is offensive line is not that good. Their defense still has a couple of pieces, like Harold Landry, Kevin Byard, Jeffrey Simmons, but the depth wise not great, and there are a couple of weak spots, but they do have star position players on there defense, and Mike Vrabel is a good coach, but I'm not sure how much their offense can be Derrick Henry oriented. So your first game versus the Saints. Saints have a good defense, also similar to the Titans, even though they are Derrick Henry could go off, but I think the Saints offense is better than the Titans offense. So I'm gonna take the Saints in week one. Then you have week two versus the Chargers. I'm Chargers another team which I think have a potentially good defense. Chargers linebackers aren't great, so if Derrick Henry goes off, I do see potential for the Titans to win the game. But Chargers also have a really good offense. Not sure how well the Tennessee Titans defense will contain the trio of wide receivers, so I'm going to take the Chargers here. Then you have a Browns, similarly another very tough team. Um, the Browns, their offense looks great. I don't think the Titans defense is good enough to contain the Nick Chubb, like Amari Cooper. The Browns defense, I don't think is that good. So potentially, I think this one's gonna be come down to the last drive. And in a 2 minute offense, I trust the Browns over the Titans. So I'm gonna take the Browns here. Then you have a game versus the Bengals. Bengals, another very good team. It's like similarly, these offenses, the last Chargers, Browns, and Bengals are really good offenses. I don't see the Titans offense matching up. So I'm gonna take the Bengals here. And then you have a game versus the Colts. For some reason, divisional game really hard to predict, but I believe this one's a split, and I see the Titans taking the first game. Then you have a game versus the Ravens. Ravens and Titans are kind of a rivalry. But Ravens have another very good defense, but for some reason, Derrick Henry always goes off against the Ravens, and Ravens offense may or may not struggle versus the Titans, who might be able to contain the Ravens offense since they don't have the best passing game. But I'm gonna take the Titans and Derrick Henry going off, probably his best game of the season against the Ravens. Then you have a bye. Then you have a game versus the Falcons. Falcons defense, I don't think it's that good. Derrick Henry should go off, and they should have a pretty good offense. Should have a pretty good day. The Titans defense should be good enough to slow down Atlanta's running game. So I'm taking the Titans here. And you have them versus the Steelers. Steelers, another team with a great defense, should be able. Mike Tomlin is a very good coach that should shut down Derrick Henry. And it's a Thursday night at Pittsburgh as home field advantage. I'm taking the Steelers all day. Then you have them versus the Bucks. I think the Bucks have an underrated defense and could contain the Titans, their offense in general. And the Titans' defense, though, should be able to contain Baker Mayfield. And Titans do have a better coach in Mike Vrabel. So it's going to be a very defensive, ugly game. I'm going to take the Bucks because they have home field advantage. Then you have them versus the Jaguars. Divisional game, so hard to predict. I do think the Jaguars swept the Titans last year, but I don't see that happening this year. I feel like Derrick Henry should be able to run over the Jaguars defense. And this one's going to be another close game, but I'm going to take the upset. I'm going to take the Titans over them. Then you have them versus the Panthers. I think the Titans defense should be good enough to contain an inexperienced Panthers offense. And the Panthers defense is good, but not sure how good they are to stop Derrick Henry, so I'm taking the Titans. Then you have them versus the Colts. Like I said, I don't see the Colts being swept by the Titans. They always split, so I'm taking the Colts. Then you have a Monday night against the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins' speed will be too much for the Titans' secondary to handle. And the Dolphins, I do think they have a potentially good defense, especially with Vic Fangio. So I'm gonna take the Dolphins here. Then you have a game versus the Texans, another divisional rival. Derrick Henry always goes off against the Texans, so I'm taking the Titans here. Then you have a game versus the Seahawks. I don't think the Seahawks run defense is good enough. Is good enough against Derrick Henry, and even though the Seahawks have a very explosive offense, but I think Derrick Henry's gonna go off, so I'm taking the Titans. Then you have a game versus the Texans. I do not see the Titans sweeping the Texans. I think the Texans are improved, but not and should be able to split with the Titans. So I'm taking the Texans here. Then you have a game against the Jaguars. Jaguars are probably like contenders right now, and the Titans to me their offense just isn't gonna match up against the Jaguars. And even though and the Jaguars secondary should have a pretty good day, so I'm taking the Jaguars here. So Indiana, the Titans going 7-10, 3-3 in the division, 5-4 at home, and 2-6 away.